Welcome back to another episode of Hudson's Highlights. Today we're going to go over Daredevil Born Again. What we do on my channel here is we discuss movies and TV shows and things within that space. As I mentioned before, we are going to discuss Daredevil Born Again Episode 1 and Episode 2 in full spoiler detail. So if you have not checked out the new series Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus, do me a favor and go ahead and favorite this episode of Hudson's Highlights. Go ahead and check out the show on Disney Plus, and then come back and we can review these two episodes together. So Daredevil Born Again picks up 6 years after the Netflix series. And one of my concerns with the show was that it was going to require homework. I can say after watching the first two episodes, although if you have seen the Netflix special, the Netflix series, it is a plus, but not a requirement. They do a really good job fleshing out why each character is important pretty early on in episode 1, so you don't need a full backlog of the seasons on Netflix to know what we're doing here. A couple of the issues I was concerned about was whether or not they will flesh out each character. I did mention that they do that. I did mention that you don't need the backstory from Netflix. This show is beautifully shot. They spared no expense on this show. It feels cinematic from start to finish. So the opening act of this episode 1 is fantastic. It's spectacular. And forgive me if I keep looking down here. I had to write down a lot of show notes because this show had a lot of information. So the show opens out with sort of a setup from Bullseye. So we open with Matt, Foggy, and Karen going to a bar. We find out a few moments later that they're working this case. The commissioner is retiring, which is sort of a subplot here at the beginning. But the most important part is that during the bar scene, Foggy gets a call from a witness that he has stashed at his apartment. That witness feels under threat. Foggy walks outside. He tries to calm the witness down. Matt hears. He uses his sensitive hearing to hear what's going on. He decides that maybe there is a threat imminent for the witness. He gears up, takes off after him. The whole time, this is a bullseye trap. What the bullseye was actually after was Foggy. After listening to the witness's conversation, Daredevil realizes that this was a double cross, and he tries to make it back to Foggy but doesn't make it in time. Foggy gets shot. This happens in about 5 minutes of the show. This show takes off, man. It does not. The first episode does not let off the gas pedal. A fight ensues between Daredevil and Bullseye. Very, very intense fight. Fight choreography is fantastic. It really has you on the edge of your seat the entire time, between the knives being thrown and Daredevil trying to block them, and it's just with the punches and kicks, and they make their way up to the rooftop. The whole time this is happening, Karen is trying to render medical aid to Foggy, who's been shot in the chest. Daredevil is using his hearing to basically check in on the physical or the medical status of Foggy while he's fighting Bullseye. And this whole scene is intense. This whole scene is riveting and is just a lot. Throughout the fight, like I said, Daredevil is checking in, listening for a heart rate, making sure his breathing is still there. And as the fight continues on the rooftop, you realize that Foggy has passed. As I mentioned, all this is within the first 5 minutes. I'm going to stop right there. If you have not watched episode 1 and 2 of Daredevil Born Again, if you can't already tell by now, this show starts out with spoilers all over the place. So if you have not already been scared away from my review, You need to stop the video and go watch the show and then come back. Trust me, it'll all be here when you get back. If you don't want to watch first. But anyway, as I was saying, so of course during this fight sequence, after he realizes Daredevil realizes that Foggy has died because of Bullseye's actions, he goes unhinged, starts beating Bullseye to a pulp, um, really loses it, throws Bullseye clean off the roof, 3 stories to the ground. The commissioner at this time was working his way up the stairs. Daredevil realizing what he's done, and just to rage losing his friend, he pulls his Daredevil mask off and chunks it off the roof. Of course, Commissioner sees who he is as Matt Murdock, and yeah, this opening scene was intense. So as the hats was the mask of Daredevil is falling, with all the happenings and going on, and it was just so much action and so much drama and so much buildup that I honestly forgot that I had not watched. They hadn't shown me the opening scene for this show yet. That we haven't seen the opening credits. And as the mask is falling from the rooftop, it blends cinematically into what they now show you as the opening credits for this show. This is all within, like, I'd have to guess within 7 to 8 minutes of the show. Brutal pacing. It is something to behold. I can totally see now why they were like, we need to go ahead and greenlight season 2 for this show now before we even got a chance to watch it. That was bold of them, and I see why. This is, if so far, only 2 episodes in. So of course, I leave room for my mind to be changed. But if they keep the pace they're going right now, this is going to be the best, hands down, by a landslide margin, the best Disney Plus Marvel show they have ever created. Holy cow. Trying to stick to my show notes here. So, like I said, that was the opening act. They hit the gas pedal and didn't let off. We skip to a year later. They take us to where we finally are introduced to Kingpin in this new series. Kingpin's introduction was equally as powerful. He is in his bedroom. He's getting dressed into a suit. Meanwhile, his wife Vanessa is sitting down at a table. She is talking down a bunch of gang leaders that she's basically facilitating a meeting. The meeting is going well. Everyone has their piece to say, and you kind of catch pretty quickly that Kingpin has been gone for a while, so they haven't seen him. No one's heard him. No one's heard his voice. He walks around the corridor, and he doesn't address anybody in the gangs. He doesn't even look at them. He simply walks in and says Vanessa. Everybody there that wasn't named Vanessa gets up and walks smooth out. Just showing the power that he has, and what it means for him to walk into a building. They did a really good job showing you Kingpin is Kingpin for a reason. With just that small scene, you get how powerful this man is in this city. Alongside that, we get, like I said, this has been a year later, so we cut to the scene where you find out, of course, that Bullseye survives the fall. He's going through trial, and because Matt Murdock was a witness, not Daredevil, but Matt Murdock was there at the bar when this happened. He is basically testifying, and he hasn't seen Karen, and that whole time he hears her footsteps coming up, and it's just some small details like that. The fact that while he was testifying, he was able to pinpoint her steps on the way to the door, and he knew immediately who that was, and it actually took him aback he had to stop testifying for a moment because he realized that the person that he's been wanting to see, been wanting to talk to, finally she's there. He finished testifying, of course. They cut to a scene where they're outside in the hallway. They're trying to have a conversation. Both of them are equally trying, but it's just so much pain and hurt there. Just the actors put on a showcase for us there in that scene where you can see that they loved each other. They have love for each other. And Matt even says it. He said, I refuse to believe that a tragedy can destroy things the way that it has. And she says, it already has. It already has. And just showing you just the depth of loss they feel behind Foggy being killed. And it was intense. Cutting back a few moments here to the point in the show where Kingpin Wilson Fisk is speaking with Vanessa after everyone leaves, he does mention that he intends to do something big within the city. Of course, if you watch the trailers, then you know that he intends to run for mayor. That's why I didn't spend a lot of time talking about it, but it is important for the plot. I'm going to try to speed through some of this stuff because if you watch it, then you know where this is going. But one thing I do want to point out is that as he's running for mayor and he's gaining traction, um, there is a scene in the show where Matt Murdock is walking down the street, and it just gives you the audience, or especially well, me and us, the audience, a perspective, a really deep and really good job with the direction of this show, taking this opportunity to say, you know what, let's put the audience in Matt's shoes. So we get Matt listening to the radio in the cars and the TV and people talking on the street. And he's gathering information from each conversation and he's piecing together that not only is Wilson Fisk running for mayor and doing a pretty good job at it, but he is probably going to win. And this leads him to confront Kingpin on the street. He walks up directly to him. No Daredevil persona, because at this point he had decided that, and you see this in the trailer, he mentions the line had been crossed, and he just decided, no more Daredevil. It's just going to be the lawyer, Matt Murdock. That's it. After losing his friend and then him throwing was out off the roof, it was just too much for him. So, but that interaction on the street, on the sidewalk, was palpable. It was thick. It was them two meeting for the first time since some pretty graphic events that happened that transpired between the two of those last they met. Two of them the last they met. And that leads us to the diner scene that you see in the trailer. That diner scene lived up to all expectations. There's a few scenes in that diner scene that you see in the trailer that's in the show that you don't see in the trailer, that it makes the scene that much better. There's a really cool little subliminal threat thrown both directions where Matt basically says, if I find out that you're gaming the system and you're not doing what you said you're gonna do, then you know what, are you gonna see me again? And then Kingpin basically replies, and if I see you, if you ever don the suit again, then you'll be seeing me. So just a real cool, real awesome episode. Episode 1 was fantastic. And of course, at the end of the episode, you find out that Kingpin does in fact win the mayor race and is officially at this point elected as mayor of New York. And this is where we cut to episode 2. It opens with him giving basically an inaugural speech, his very first public speech on the TV's broadcasting and on Broadway. Hey, I'm the mayor. I get that we've been going through some tough times. I'm here to fix it. And the cool thing about that scene in the show, episode 2, it opens here, and Mayor Fisk pretty much name drops Daredevil in the speech, Punisher in the speech, but he also names drops Spider-Man, which is cool because a lot of times, especially in the MCU, we get things happening within like a stone's throw of someone else's township, and it's never mentioned. So I love the fact that Kingpin was like, we know who Spider Man is. He lives down the street. We know he's here too, which was cool. I'm not saying that we're going to see Spider Man in this thing. I highly, seriously doubt it. But just the fact that they were willing to say, you know what, we're going to mention that because in the real world, you would. If you're going to mention vigilantes, you're going to mention the one in, you know, with the spider suit. You're going to mention that one too. So I love that they did that. Another great thing they did in episode 2 was they really made the audience feel like maybe Mayor Fisk was doing something different this time around. Maybe he was really out to try to fix the city. You know, aside from all of his kingpin activities that he had going on in the past, he really was trying to, he really did care about what happened to New York. And when he said he set out to be the mayor to fix the city, us as the audience, you start to believe him. Like maybe this crazy maniac really does somewhere deep down want the best for this city. And he really puts that in the forefront on screen. And Vincent D'Onofrio does a really good job transitioning from just this maniacal, heavy-handed monster to, hey, I know what I've been, but this is what I'm trying to do. I have the power to fix this town and or this city, and I'm going to do it. And so it's really cool. Really cool they did that. But of course, like with any political run, he has to win over some people who don't buy it. Just don't buy it. I mean, you go from being kingpin to mayor, you're gonna have to really win some people over. But while that's happening and he's trying to basically navigate his way politically through the city, there is a subplot, sub story going on with White Tiger. In this situation, he's outside of his uniform. He just sees a guy getting bullied in the subway. He's getting roughed up by two bigger guys, and he decides, you know what? We're not doing that here. He steps in, gets into a tuffle with two of the guys. The victim flees, and while he's fighting the two assailants, one swings at him, misses, falls over the sub railing, and gets hit by a train. The other assailant sees it, pulls out his badge and gun. He's a cop. You're going to jail for murder. Moving along here, the pace is really good in this show. It really doesn't linger anywhere. It takes you straight from that pretty much to he's in jail. He's getting roughed up. They're trying to force him to sign a confession. Matt can hear because he's broken the case within that parameter. He walks in, takes on the dude. Hey, I'll be your lawyer. What's what makes that interesting is that Matt does find out. He uses the previous commissioner, the one that was going to retire. He uses him basically to do some of his digging because Matt, like I said, at this point he's decided that he's done with the vigilante lifestyle. He's going to be a lawyer. He's going to let justice prevail. And what's interesting about this case is that because this guy was pretty much thrown into a murder case that he really wasn't trying to commit, he was just trying to help someone. Matt, and of course, these are two corrupt cops, presumably at this point, right? So Matt's trying to do it the right way. He eventually decides, you know what? He's already struggling with the vigilante, walking the line, trying not to be Daredevil. The case is coming to a point where this guy's going to get strung up. You know, he innocent man here. So Matt, he doesn't don the suit, but he does start listening to the police. He starts listening to their conversations. He follows one of the cops far enough to where he figures out where the witness is hiding because, you know, the witness he fled. So that's the only witness he has that can basically absolve his client of murder. He does catch up with him, but not far behind him is the police department. Those two corrupt cops that have been on his tail. And Matt gets to a point where he gets the guy. He says, "Hey, I got somebody waiting for you. Get out of the window." So he runs him off. Matt's standing there, blind. The two cops walk in, rough him up real bad, and then Matt, you know, does his thing. He finally just unleashes, beats these guys into a pulp. The fight is gory and violent and awesome. Awesome. You see Matt finally, he's been holding this back for a year, so he gave them the business. You see one of the scenes in the trailer where he takes this guy's arm and breaks the bone straight through. That happens in this scene. And it is a sight to behold. I will say, first two episodes, we have not seen Muse yet, but I'm going to be honest with you, you didn't need them. There was enough going on in these first two episodes that whenever they decide to use Muse, they can, but first two episodes, we didn't need them. We didn't. That through and through, these two episodes were fantastic. Fantastic. I am droolingly excited about episode 3. I should be able for you guys to record, well, watch, review, and record episode 3 and post it on my channel Tuesday night. The only reason why I wasn't able to do it, as I alluded to before, for the opening two episodes is because they aired so late and there was two episodes back to back, and I just could not get the content out as fast as I'd like to without staying up way, way, way too late. So on Tuesday, I will have episode 3 full spoiler review up for you guys on my channel. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you agree with me, this was a fantastic 2 episodes. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think that these episodes were slow. Whatever you guys think, leave your comments in the comment section down below, and I'll be happy to see you guys on the next episode of Hudson's Highlights. You guys take care.